Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Coffee Table, a cruel Calle Casa film. Cruel doesn't even begin to describe it. I was thinking of doing a scripted review with like a script and notes and everything, but after watching the film, which was yesterday, and it still lingers in my mind even a day later, I think maybe I should just go completely off the grid and tell you guys exactly what this film is like, what it's about, how it transpires, and why it has left me broken. Okay, that's an exaggeration. It hasn't traumatized me or left me broken, but it broke me whilst I was watching it, alright? It was bad. This is like one of the most disturbing films ever made. But you might say Cannibal Holocaust is worse. Martyrs is worse. Solo is worse. Even a Serbian film could be worse. And yes, these films are bad, but none of them have affected me in the moment as much as The Coffee Table did. This might as well be the most disturbing film I've seen in a long time, almost matching the visceral reaction that a Serbian film gave me all those years ago. This almost did it. First of all, if you haven't seen A Coffee Table, if you can handle it, heed my word, if you can handle it, I highly recommend that you watch it. It's on Tubi for free, so there's literally no excuse not to watch it. I got the DVD, obviously, because I'm a collector. This is the Cinephobia release. There is a much better Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray, which I plan to get soon. Mostly for the special features, like the audio commentary behind the scenes and the cast interviews, but to actually watch the movie again, I'm not doing that for a long time, at least not now. Maybe later, when I finally cleared my head of it. Again, not that it's traumatized me, but I feel like going back to it so soon would be very upsetting to me. The basic plot of The Coffee Table is that it's about this guy, his wife, the guy's name is Jesus, the wife's name is Maria, and they have a newborn baby, Cayetano. Not newborn, I think the baby is like 6 months old or something like that. I forgot. And they go to a furniture store, and there's this guy there who a lot of people have theorized to be like the symbol of the devil, like the seller was the devil himself and the table was like a monkey paw. I don't know. I think it's just pure coincidence that all of this happened. And the seller recommends them a specific coffee table that everyone thinks looks horrible. It looks ugly. It's a bad looking table. The man's wife doesn't want it, but she always makes the decisions in the family apparently. So just to be able to go against her wishes this one time, he decides to buy the coffee table, which ends up being the biggest mistake of his life. If your wife tells you not to buy something like a coffee table, listen to her. Don't buy it. He buys it just to like charge his ego or whatever, or maybe get his ego back. And their marriage is already rocky enough. I mean, they're fighting right in front of the seller. And the wife, Maria, is insulting the seller to his face. And also, this movie is apparently a black comedy. Very, very, very light on the comedy, by the way, because there are almost no saving grace moments of comedy in this film. It's all bleak. It's all sad and disturbing. But what I do like about that is that it sets an amazing tone, because this film presents an aura of like negativity and like griminess that I haven't seen any other film do in quite a while. The closest that I ever saw to match it was Hereditary, which is the scariest film I've ever seen in my life. But this, like I said, this might come close to the scariest film I've ever seen. So he buys the coffee table. He brings it home. But it turns out there's a screw missing. And without that screw, the table is wonky. Like the glass panel, I should mention it has a glass panel, is wonky. So he calls the seller and tells him that he wants the missing screw and for him to bring it over to him personally. Could you imagine if stuff like that happened on the regular? You find out something's missing, so you call them and they bring it to you? That'd be incredible. So the wife leaves. And this is where it starts to get bad, really bad, because he picks up the baby because it's crying and he set the glass panel on an angle so that it's up like that, leaning against one of the fake golden women which are holding up the glass panel on the coffee table, and somehow he falls on the table with baby in hand. And how do I say this? Well, the baby's head just off, just completely off. And it's shocking the first time it happens, to say the least, because I hate seeing children in pain in movies and in real life. But this is just a whole other level. It's just a whole other level of shocking. It's shocking. He sits there for a while, processing what just happened. And then he picks up the no longer living Cayetano, and he attempts to hide everything. Because honestly, how are you going to confront your wife with the fact that you just decapitated your kid? How does that conversation even start? Hey, hon, you know that baby we had? You know how it had a head? You're going to laugh when I tell you this. Oh my God, it is grim. And also, I do want to say that the score for the film is incredible too. Usually I hate when horror movies have music because I feel like music ruins the atmosphere more often than not, because they like to add loud, blaring, orchestral beats and hits and loud violins, which really it drives me nuts because it just reminds me of the slasher genre, which is the worst genre of horror, by the way. But this film, its soundtrack is more... I should mention the film is from Spain. It is a Spanish film with English subtitles or subtitles from wherever country you're watching it from. So it is a Spanish film. And so the music does have elements of Spanish music. They use accordions, which I've never heard in a horror film ever up until this point. They use accordions, they use guitar, they use bass guitars, they use drums and cymbals. It really is like this sort of homemade, I wouldn't call it like a very homemade ambient soundtrack, which really does fit with the tone, especially the later scenes, and this scene in particular. So he tries to hide it. He cleans up the entire mess, wipes out as much blood as he can, because as you know, blood is very hard to get off of fabric and carpets, because we've all killed somebody. We all know how hard it is to get off, definitely. And then the wife comes home. And you know that trope that a lot of sitcoms do where the husband does something stupid and now he has to hide it from his wife or else she's going to go bananas on him? This is that plot, but dialed up to 1,000 in terms of disturbing, because he's hiding the dead baby from his wife and she doesn't know anything. Apparently, the seller said that apparently the glass was unbreakable. He really had to emphasize it, so much in fact that he scared the daylights out of the baby.
Pero, querida mía, le doy mi palabra que este cristal es irrompible. Además de un vendedor putre, es usted gilipollas. Entonces, ¿qué? ¿Se la queda?
Pues sí, me la quedo. Aunque solo sea por orgullo, me la quedo.
Así me gusta. Es usted un hombre con personalidad.
And so when she comes home and realizes that the glass has broken, she laughs in his face. Like it's the funniest thing in the world.
¿De qué te ríes?
Pues de lo del cristal, coño, de lo del cristal irrompible. No te ha durado ni un día, tío. Por favor. ¿Qué has hecho para romperlo? Pero ¿cómo te la has podido cargar tan rápido?
Now that is kind of funny, just the way that she finds it so side-splitting that his beloved table is broken, but it's just the fact that what you've just witnessed, you can't laugh at it. If it were any other situation, I'd be laughing alongside her just because her laugh is so incredibly obnoxious and crazy. But we saw what happened, and we can't laugh. We can only watch in horror as he tries to hide his emotions, which I feel like this film portrays a very real problem with a lot of men, that they like to hide their emotions. A lot of men like to bottle themselves up, not just men, but women also. Everyone. There are a lot of people, but mostly men, feel the need to bottle up their emotions and not show them because they may seem vulnerable or weak or not fit to be a father or whatever. But I advise you, if you're in I hope to God you're never in a similar situation like this. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. But if you're in a situation where you are feeling vulnerable and you need to tell somebody, tell them. Tell them how you feel. No matter how big of a mistake you've done, you can, like I said, I hope you never live this situation. If you make any other mistake, you can bounce back from it. You can get better. You can redeem yourself. This guy, I don't know if he could ever redeem himself with his wife, but he tries to hide it. And throughout the entire film, she tries to go into the baby's room to check up on them. But Jesus says the baby's sleeping. Deep sleep. Yeah, that's one way to say it. Anyways, and then Jesus' brother and his 18-year-old girlfriend, what's her name? I don't know. I'll show you. I'll put it up what her name is. They come and visit for dinner and also to see the baby. But Jesus keeps on telling them, urging them, it took me a long time to put the baby to sleep. Leave them alone. So they go into the bedroom, the bedroom that they're painting for the kid. And it's just, first of all, this is an amazing bedroom, by the way. They're aligned with so much toys, so many action figures, but it's one of the most heartbreaking scenes because you're looking at all these toys that the baby will never be able to play with. And again, they keep talking like the kid is alive, which to them, the kid is alive because they don't know. And that's what's heartbreaking, is that you have to watch Jesus hide such an excruciating reality from them. But what I want to know is, how long was he really planning on hiding this for? I mean, he was planning on committing suicide. He was planning on doing that. So I imagine he was going to go through with that. He did. By the way, there is a moment where they're having dinner. And he's trying to eat, but obviously he can't because he's so shaken up. And like, his life is over, basically. And they're trying to have a conversation with him because they don't know what's going on. And he's obviously apprehensive. And at the end, he blows up on his brother and tells him that because his brother, whose name is, what was his name? I should remember this. Whatever. I'll put it up again. His brother tells Jesus that he's gotten his 18-year-old girlfriend pregnant. And Jesus blows up on him. He says he doesn't care. He says he has nothing to say. He says that he's ruined her life and he's ruined his own life, which, you know, is obviously projection. And he leaves. And he goes to the bathroom to record a suicide note for his wife because he's planning on jumping off the balcony and ending himself. His brother overhears it and he finally reveals the truth to somebody of what he's done. He shows his brother the state of the baby. And the brother is just as shocked as he is. The brother takes a moment to think and he says, we have to tell Maria what happened. As brutal and as traumatic as it's going to be, we have to tell her. But we cannot let her see the baby. So they go back outside. And I've neglected to mention this whole time that there's this weird subplot of a girl named Ruth. See, I actually remember her name this time. Ruth. Who apparently has a weird parasocial, I think that's what it's called, relationship with Jesus, where she thinks they're in love with each other. She thinks she tried to kiss him in the elevator. Oh, God. Excuse me. She tried to kiss him in the elevator. And by that, she believes that they're both in love with each other and they're going to run away and that Jesus has to tell Maria the truth of how he feels about her. Obviously, Jesus, being the normal man he is, denied all that. He just wanted to be friends with her. But she's this weird, mentally unwell little girl. She's like 13, I believe. Yes, 13. And she wants him to admit that he likes her and loves her romantically. So Ruth comes by towards the last 10 minutes of the film. And Maria answers the door, and she tells her that Jesus kissed her in the elevator, which is not what happened. And that he was sending her love poems, which he was doing for a school project that she wanted help with. She needed like poems for a school project. So they all go out. Not only does Maria believe that she's just found out that her husband is a pedophile, she goes out. Jesus and his brother are now outside, and they're about to tell her what has happened. And Ruth has a dog, and the dog rushes over to the armchair in the living room, which is where the head of Cayetano rolled underneath. He pulls it out, and the brother grabs it and tries to hide it, and he's telling his wife to grab Maria and leave the house because she doesn't have to live this. But she insists that he shows her what it is, and he can't hide it anymore. So he shows it to her, and she realizes she's just been exposed to a movie's worth of information in like 2 minutes. And the stress and the realization is overwhelming to the point where she rushes to the balcony and she disappears. And Jesus does the exact same thing. And that's how the movie ends. There's a scene afterwards with police coming by and seeing the crime scene, and Jesus' brother is in such a state of shock and trauma that he can only repeat 3 words: the coffee table. And that's it. That's how it ends. That's the coffee table. Now, for as messed up and cruel as the coffee table is, I loved it. I loved the stress. I loved the anxiety that this film gave me. I was shaking by the end, but I loved every second of it. The acting is so real that this is one of those films where you just feel like a fly on the wall watching real events unfold and take place. It goes beyond acting, where it almost feels like a documentary of some sorts, like Lake Mungo, or what's another good documentary film? Dear Zachary, a letter to a son about his father. All that. The acting is just so... I have no words for how amazing the acting is. There were editing choices that were a little bit strange to me, like sometimes the film, like there is a part at the end where the film sort of slows down, it goes in slow motion, which is a little bit weird because the rest of the film didn't do that, and I didn't even know people still did slow motion in films like that. Like it's very old school slow motion where it's like it like skips frames, but that's nitpicking. I shouldn't even mention that. That's just nitpicking at this point. We're grasping at straws with that because the rest of the film is perfect. I won't be watching it anytime soon. Maybe not for a couple months, maybe not for the rest of the year. But I highly recommend, if there's one horror film you should watch this year, be it The Coffee Table or La Mesita del Comedor, which is what it's called in Spanish. I have nothing else to say, really. It's an amazing film, top tier acting, amazing soundtrack, by the way, which I hope gets some sort of physical or digital. It probably already has a digital release, but a vinyl or a CD would be incredible. I'd buy it because this is an amazing soundtrack composed by who made the soundtrack? It's made by some band or something by the name of Bambikina, I think. So I don't know what else they've done. And speaking of, this is the third film by Calle Casa, apparently. I haven't seen his other films, but if he does make something else after this, believe me, I will be watching it. I hope it's another thriller or a horror film, because he has proven that he does horror perfectly. This film is flawless. Flawless horror. One of the most disturbing films I've ever seen in my life, but a must watch. If you can handle it, that is. Don't put yourself through this if you don't think you can handle it. If you're pregnant, if you have babies, or if you have children, I recommend you skip this one because this one is going to take a toll on you. Big time. But that's it. I'm giving The Coffee Table a 10 out of 10. A well-deserved 10 out of 10. That's it.